Hello, and welcome to
Hart and Hustle.
I'm the Hart.
I'm the Hustle.
And we're talking Texas teams and Texas talents all across the Lone Star State.
Man, it's been busy, right? Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Did you do anything last week with recruiting? I don't remember what was last week. I feel like we may have had like a show, but it wasn't Hart and Hustle, but it was kind of recruiting based.
Oh, it was signing day.
Oh, it was early National Signing Day.
I've slept since then. So much, actually. I slept a lot.
Man, yeah. If y'all missed it, we did an hour and almost a half show over every FBS team in Texas, all 13, talking about some of their top prospects, some flips and sleepers to watch in the class of 2025 for each of those teams.
And you can still watch it.
It's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. If you haven't seen it, please go take a look if your team is one of the 13 of the FBS.
Transfer portal is popping right now. There's a lot of names going in and stuff, but all of the news that happened on National Signing Day is still very relevant. Nothing's really changed as it relates to those signings, so it's like new content.
Yes.
So if you don't know who your favorite team signing, or the next future stars of your favorite college football team, you can check it out. We have something for everybody.
Okay, so I do want to ask you this before we get rolling with today's subjects. Of the 13 FBS teams in Texas, Power 4 and G5, which team do you think did the absolute best?
Oh, Texas was number one.
Okay, you didn't let me finish.
All right, my bad. I have that problem sometimes.
You do, because I think we can all agree that, yes, Texas did the best. They absolutely swept clean. All across the board in every position, yes. Number one overall class. Did the best, but might be under the radar a little bit.
Oh, I'm picking TCU. I've been like everything, all the media that I've done in the wake of the early signing period, whether it's been on radio or even here, like on Texas Football Today, I've been making sure to call out TCU's class because they finished higher or equal to what Texas Tech did or signed in 2024. And I felt like walking away from National Signing Day or the early signing period that more people actually talked about Tech's class the year prior versus TCU.
In large part due to Micah Hudson.
Probably, yeah. They had that top – you're right. They had that top tier guy. And TCU probably, I would say, lost their marquee name in this class when they lost Ty Hawkins, but they backfilled that with Adam Schobel, who is pretty good. I think it would be a fun debate now in the middle of this Texas high school football season of who was going to be the number 2 quarterback in the state behind Keelan Russell, Adam Schobel, or Ty Hawkins if Ty Hawkins wouldn't have transferred.
If he would have stayed at San Antonio Johnson.
But TCU, I thought TCU did well. They signed a massive class, I think close to 30 names, fulfilled all their needs, checked a lot of boxes, and they had a wealth of guys in that 3-star range that people don't talk about enough that are football playing dudes. And we love to say the term football playing dudes when that's like a badge of honor. When a coach says that about you, or like if we call you a football playing joker, that means
that's one of the highest compliments you can
that's
get.
The high
think,
compliment.
as a ball player.
That means like no matter where they're rated or what people say about them, that's a guy you pay attention to.
Yes, I completely agree. In that same vein, I would argue that Baylor probably had one of the most surprising, not surprising, but really good and under the radar type classes. I think in large part is due to probably Taz Williams, the wide receiver there out of Red Oak. Just an absolutely dynamic player. Hasn't played much this season because he's been hurt. He got hurt early on in this season. But definitely the headliner, I would say, in that class. I really like Michael Turner there, the running back out of Richland. I think he's been fantastic until he also got hurt this season. They're kind of riddled with
big injuries on those offensive guys.
Yes, definitely. And they picked up 2 really good quarterbacks too. Now Demetrius Brisbane out of Chapel Hill is listed as an athlete, so I don't think that he's going to play quarterback because they also got EG3 Edward Griffin out of Coppell. But really, I just want to say football playing dudes too. Like just a very good class, solid class all the way around.
They did a tremendous job because like the odds were stacked against them at the beginning of this recruiting cycle.
Totally.
Everybody thought that Dave Aranda was on his way out.
The odds were stacked against this current Baylor team.
No one believed that the offense was going to get on the right track. No No one was buying in, but Jake Spavital.
I was going to say, here comes Spav.
Here comes Spav. He's turned that ship around. It's been fun to watch.
Yeah.
You know, from this perspective, is like it was a down on your luck story that turned around, because everybody likes Dave Aranda, right? Like, he's a lot of fun to talk to. He's an enjoyable guy, nice person. Everybody likes him. When I say nice person, he treats us well.
Yes.
That doesn't mean, he's nice on the football field, because as we know, his defensive units have been terrorizing, right? Like, he coaches a terrorizing type of defense. But it's a guy that you can't help but root for personally. So it's like a fun thing to watch.
Right. So it's kind of cool to see them kind of pick up all these powerhouses on the offensive side of the ball, knowing that he's more of a defensive-minded guy. Keenan freaking Hall.
Yeah, he did great.
He's done fantastic there at Baylor. So TCU Baylor,
But there's some that didn't sign.
There's some that didn't sign. I'll start off with one of the most interesting, in my opinion. Ty Haywood.
For sure. That's him in the graphic, too.
Yep.
Look how you can just tell by looking at that, he looks like a full-grown human being.
I ain't messing with him.
Yeah.
Nope, not going to do that. Out of Denton, Ryan. No. So he's committed to Alabama. When did he commit? He committed back in the summer.
Yeah, he was committed. A lot of these commitments are happening in June, July now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was like a June, July.
But he announced that he wasn't going to sign with Alabama. He's going to wait until National Signing Day, which is February 5th, 2025. Yep. So a couple months away. Why?
Well, there was some news that came out that just prior to signing day, and that kind of hit the pause button with Alabama. And now everything's back to being readjusted, and now he has time to figure it out. One name that popped up in state was Texas Tech as it relates to Ty Haywood's recruitment. Michigan has been a name that has been floated around. As a matter of fact, in that story, our friend over at 24/7 Sports, Mike Roach, put together on Ty Haywood was that Michigan was one of those schools that you needed to keep a close eye on. And that was from Ty Haywood's lips, right? So trust what Ty says there. Interesting prospect. He could really play for anybody he wants to, but is a unique individual from the standpoint, like he doesn't really necessarily, to me, seem to enjoy like the recruiting spotlight and all that stuff. Probably doesn't really think about it as like a determining factor when he makes a comment or announces something, right? To somebody. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. But he's a no frills, no nonsense type of blocker with left tackle potential. So it'd be easy to see why anybody in the country who's looking for that would be coming to Denton Ryan to try to convince Ty Haywood to go, hey, you know what? Don't sign with Alabama on the 5th. Come to our program. He remains committed to Alabama, by the way.
He is not uncommitted.
He's still on Alabama's commitment list. We should make sure that we say that very clearly. Yes,
but there are other programs that are making hard pushes for
now that he's not signed, why?
Correct.
Just what you said.
Right.
Why?
Why? That's what I'm saying. It's like, watch what they do, not what they say.
98 out of the top 100 prospects in the state did sign.
Yes.
Ty Haywood and Gracen Harris being the two that didn't.
Okay, well, let's talk about Gracen Harrison. He's a dynamic playmaker out at Ennis.
Yep.
Decommitted from Oklahoma.
He was committed to Oklahoma forever.
Yes, forever.
Years.
Decommitted just days before early signing day last week.
Yep.
And he's getting a couple of looks from Baylor, Florida State, SMU, Texas Tech.
He's a ball player.
He's a ball player.
He came right out of the gates as his freshman season, and he was the guy.
Yeah.
He's been the guy.
Why did he decommit from Oklahoma?
Well, I just think it was a numbers situation at OU for Gracen Harris. Sad to see those type of things happen, no matter if it's on the player side or on the team side, because no matter who initiates that separation, the other party is going to be in a tough scenario that close to signing day, right? But Gracen Harris is a good player. He's going to find somewhere to play, and Oklahoma is a good program that's going to be able to find another wide receiver target. I don't really know who did Oklahoma come to him and say, hey, we don't have a spot for you, or did Gracen Harris really get cold feet leading up to the national signing day? And I don't want to speculate on either scenario, but all I know is that Gracen Harris is a ball player.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to get lucky that he didn't sign with OU, because he's going to be fun to watch. A perfect fit for the slot role.
Oh, 100%. Well, and that's interesting that we bring that up, because I remember talking about on early National Signing Day about the whole Michael Fasusi debacle, right? Was he going to stay committed to Oklahoma, or was he going to flip to Texas or wherever? And then Brent Venables said that he was going to keep, he announced on Twitter that same day that he was going to keep his entire staff intact for the 2020 I guess 5-6 season, whatever. So I was like, okay, I wonder if that kind of swayed his decision a little bit. In Michael Fasusi's way, it swayed one way, and then I wonder if in Ennis's way, or not Ennis, Gracen Harris's way, it flipped the other way. Yeah,
and also, or is there, hey, you know what? We have to have a receiver who can play this season. We need more experience in the receiver. That is a scenario that I could see being likely. Or we are going to recruit a player at the position that you play through the transfer portal. Are you okay with that?
Right.
And the answer to that question could be no, or it could be yes, or it could be indifferent. You know what I mean? But we don't really know the whole scenario. But there are like a lot of things there are a lot of ways that it could have played out.
Right.
But some guys don't want to sit. Some guys want to play right away. Some guys commit to the university. Some guys commit to the coach. Every recruitment's so
different.
Yeah, it's so unique that you really can't pinpoint it always down to one certain thing. But in my experience, most of the big decisions are made on personnel.
Yes, I think
relationships and personnel, like those are the key driving factors. People don't typically say personnel and playing time is the reason why I'm doing this or the reason why I'm doing that. But you're an athlete. You can't make money if you don't get on the field.
Right.
So you have to be able to get on the field.
Exactly. 100%. Let's talk about safety Braylen Wortham out at College Station.
Interesting one.
This one was really interesting. He was, I would say, the highest rated commitment for Sam Houston.
He was, for sure. Yeah, he definitely was.
One of the most talented, decorated players committed to Sam Houston. Did not sign with them on early National Signing Day. Thought that was a little telling. Watch what they do, not what they say. And then a couple days later, he decommits. Now he's getting offers. One of which from the University of North Texas, where Sam Houston's former defensive coordinator, Skylar Cassidy, has now assumed the position at North Texas.
I'm going to explain this recruitment. I feel like I can do it in one word.
Okay.
Call. I was going to say call.
The signs are telling.
Yeah.
It's very telling.
Is that the hand thing? I did that wrong, right? There we go.
It's almost like the TCU one, but you have to like open your talons a little bit more.
Yeah. So. Call.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah, I think the writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
He decommitted or said that he wasn't going to sign. Didn't he say decommitted or wasn't going to sign before signing day?
Yeah.
Around the time that all this news was starting to matriculate out. I actually didn't. I was busy too, but I didn't connect those dots in my head like instantaneously when all this was happening. But then whenever signing day had come and went and I was putting this piece together, you can see we're not going to talk about all the unsigned prospects today on this show, but
we don't have time.
You can see all the ones that are rated 3 stars or higher on Dave Campbell's Texas Football that are unsigned. TexasFootball.com/recruiting unsigned prospect story. The top unsigned prospects in the state are the highest rated ones. But researching for that story, and I was like, oh, well, duh.
He's definitely
I felt like
you said the writing's on the wall. The coaching changed itself, and like you just said, relationships.
Yeah, and they did this the right way too. It's not like he recruited the kid it looked like to come to him while he was at Sam Houston and follow him to North Texas. This was in stages, right? Like it happened 1, 2, 3. I decommitted from Sam Houston. I didn't sign. I got an offer from North Texas. I think it's easy to see what's going on here.
He's gonna be part of the Mean Green.
Yeah, you're going to be on the Mean Green.
Yep, I love it. I like that a lot.
What if a P4 school comes calling and throws everything? He can play. Like, he could play.
Oh, he's got
happy.
Potential.
You would be happy if Michigan State offered him, I think.
Well, yeah, I would.
Yeah, you'd be like, cool.
I would. Which we did offer. Who did we offer?
Jonathan Hatton.
Jonathan Hatton out of Cibolo Steel. That I'm pumped
2026 wide receiver who just decommitted from Oklahoma.
Yeah. All these Oklahoma decommits. But no, that rocks. Very excited. My Michigan State heart is happy. Okay, moving on. Couple more players we can talk about. One of them, kind of interesting, former UTSA commit, Isaiah Butler Tanner, tight end out of Colleen Shoemaker. He's 6'5", 245.
Big dude.
Big dude. So he was committed to Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Then he committed to UTSA, but did not sign on early National Signing Day. Why?
Well, I think that I don't know the exact reasoning why that he didn't sign in the early signing period, but there were a lot of things that happened in that recruitment stacked up late.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State decommitment happened closer towards the wire. He committed to UTSA very close to National Signing Day. He's a big dude. Like he's a good red zone.
Keone Armstrong big, as in biggest tight end.
Like he's like an extra offensive lineman big.
Yeah, he's like, massive.
He clears lanes. But what's impressive to me is seeing him like line up as a sniffer back or an H back and the way that he moves.
Gosh.
And he's pretty smart. Like he's able to find out the right people to block and
just
that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I like him a lot. He was UTSA's highest rated commit. Right there. When he decommitted, their highest rated commit was Ty Roop from I think he plays at Conroe Grand Oaks. Was it?
Okay.
Yeah, so two tight ends in the UTSA class were both really good.
Yes. I think I know what you're talking about. Okay. One more player I want to talk about before we move on. And if there's another one you want to talk about, we can, but I think this one's also interesting because he was the highest rated player in the class of 2025 for Texas State, and that's Kevon Carter.
Yes.
Out of San Antonio Wagner. So he's still committed to Texas State.
Yep.
But he, again, did not sign on early National Signing Day. He was on our graphic as the highest rated 2025 player that was committed. He's got P4 potential.
Yeah, for sure.
And is that why he's held back on officially signing?
I'm not 100% sure on that. He had some other offers at the time that he committed to Texas State, right? But again, sometimes when you're looking at these G5 programs and the prospects that are committed to them, I'm going to go deeper here, all right? Okay. I'm going to go a little bit deeper here to exclude it from being something that's specifically about Kevon Carter and being something that's more broad or more generalistic in terms of the recruiting process and how it's all working and evolving with the NIL, transfer portal, timelines, all that kind of stuff. To me, I thought we would see less G5 signings in this cycle, and we did. One, because you need to take a smaller class to wait for the transfer portal, because there's been now a segmentation of it. First, we have the early signing period now that's happening at the beginning of December.
Yep. Which happened a week earlier this year.
Right, which helped create a separation between high school signings and transfer signings.
Yes.
So we had the high school signings, the early period, it's come and gone. And I know the colleges want to have most of their work done. The big P4 colleges, they want to be done in the early signing period or kind of know.
Yes.
That way they know the money allocation for the transfer portal, right? It's a numbers game now. So you have to be able to get your ducks in a row from a financial standpoint, right? So you got to know who you're investing in from the high school ranks, and then you got to know who you're investing in the transfer portal. That's how it works for P4 schools. If I'm a G5 coach, I'm working it the opposite way. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get the high school guys that I feel like are the most important that I can sign in the early signing period, but I need to allocate more of my funds to the transfer portal.
I was going to say, I'm hitting the portal. Yep.
Right. So I have to be wary of my money that's going to, right? Or the money or whatever that's going to be invested there. I can't go ahead and get all these guys early because I got to save some back for over here.
Yes.
Then after the portal closes, then they can go back to these guys.
Yes. I think that's smart.
And I think there are some coaches that didn't say it this year publicly, because you don't want to tip your hand of what you're doing, right? Because you don't want to go, I'm not going to sign that very many players but my first indication of this was I was watching what they do and I wasn't listening to what they say. I was watching Jeff Traylor down at UTSA, right? And the way that he runs his program there from a recruiting standpoint. He's been very active in offering and collecting commitments from kids in Texas, right? Yes. So when they slowed down or took their foot off the gas pedal a little bit this year, that was my first wake-up moment of, okay, like, you know what, I need to make sure that I'm in the moment of understanding how this timeline is working. Mm-hmm. Because that affects how these teams are recruiting these players. And I just didn't feel like UTSA was as aggressive this year as they had been in the past. And where that made sense to me is like, oh, I see what's going on here now. And again, could be wrong, could be misguided or whatever, but this is my thoughts on it, is they need to tap the brakes a little bit on some of these high school guys so they can get the transfer portal guys at these schools. But there's still plenty of good talent available. I think there's more talent available this year than the last 2 years after the early signing period. Better talent. So we can see some of these, there's like 30 guys, 40 guys out there right now that are like really good ratings that didn't sign, and guys coming out of the woodwork from strong senior seasons still. Mm-hmm. And there are X amount of 7 G5 schools in Texas. There's still enough talent in the state to add 4 or 5 names to each one of those commitment lists
100%.
From high school.
Yes. Well, I think that's the smartest way to go about it. It really makes sense when you actually,
I rambled a long time.
No, but it makes sense. Like, I'm glad that you said that, because I think if you are a fan of a G5 school, like if you're a fan of UTSA, like, okay, why haven't we signed as many players as I would say like TCU or SMU? But it makes complete sense.
And I might not be unleashing anything that's like unheard of or whatever. People may think about this, but they may not, because it's something that I have to live and think about all the time. So it may be information that I think that I've come up on so I wanted to try to explain it. But I do think it's one important takeaway everybody should have is the recruiting process this cycle, and now moving forward, unless they change it again, is more segmented, and I think that's good for everybody involved. And I like the way it worked out this year better than it was last year.
I did too.
Based on that.
Well, yeah, and if you go back and watch our interview with Scotty Walden, he'd tell you the same thing.
Yeah,
he kind of talked about it.
Good call out. Yeah, I like that. He did talk about that.
Yeah, shout out Scotty Walden. So I think that about wraps up the class of 2025. We had early National Signing Day last week, and then now we just finished talking about the top unsigned prospects in the class of 2025. Really good list again that you put on TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Go check it out. But I think now we've got state championships next week, right?
Yep.
We need to start looking at the class of 2026. A lot of fun.
Reason to come back. There's a reason to come back to this show.
Yes, correct. Reason to come back. A lot of really, really great names on that list.
And a lot of wide open recruitments, but also in the rankings battles, I don't think there's a clear-cut number one player.
No.
So it'll be fun to talk about some of the guys who are in the mix for that.
So stay tuned to TexasFootball.com/recruiting. We'll get you all caught up on the class of 2026. Not right now, but in the future. We'll see you next week.
For the Hart, Mallory, Hartley, I'm the Hustle, Greg Powers.
Actually, we won't see you next week because we'll be at state championships.
See you next year.
See you next year.